All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Fireside Chat with the Honorable Senator Angela Alsobrooks with the Prince George's Chamber of Commerce at the Junior Achievement Center. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us tonight at our Fireside Chat. We're thrilled to host this important conversation focused on how new federal and state legislation is shaping the business landscape here in Maryland, from the One Big Beautiful Act to the U.S. Department of Transportation's ruling to the most recent U.S. Department of Transportation's ruling. Tonight's discussion will help us better understand what these developments mean for our local businesses, our workforce, and our future. I'd like to take a moment to thank our distinguished panelists for joining us this evening, the Honorable Angela D. Alsobrooks, United States Senator for Maryland, the Honorable Nick Charles, Maryland State Senator for District 25, and the Honorable Maria Martinez, Special Secretary for Small, Minority, and Women's Business Affairs. We are grateful for their leadership and their insights. I'd also like to recognize our President and CEO, Alexander Austin, here in the back. We also have our chairwoman, Courtney Edmonds, here, the chair of our board of directors, alongside several of our other board members here, so if we can show them some support as well. Thank you for being here. And I'd also like to note that we have several of our business owners from our equity and procurement program here from our cohort 1 and cohort 2. So if we can just show them some support as well for being here in attendance. And if I could ask Chelsea Sonera to step up here really quickly. She actually works here at this phenomenal facility, the Junior Achievements Facility, to say a few words about this venue and the programs they offer.
It is my absolute privilege to welcome you to Junior Achievement Finance Park. This facility is celebrating its 10th year, which means we are also celebrating the 100,000 Prince George's County Public Schools students to matriculate from this facility. Thank you. With personal experience managing an adult budget, and with the skills that they are going to need to be a successful, thriving adult. And that's thanks to the investments and partnership of our partners, wonderful partners that are in this room, some of the partners that you see reflected out in the facility with our county and state representatives, and to Mr. Austin as one of our board members. So thank you so much. And what I want to share with you as you convene this really important conversation in this space that inspires us every day is that Junior Achievement is working for you to help build a thriving economic community with you. We invite everybody to partner with us, whether as a volunteer here at the facility or at one of our 4 high schools, Potomac, Surrattsville, Fairmont Heights, or Central, where we are fully changing the way that people think about what public education can deliver in partnership with Prince George's County Public Schools. Please join us. This is an opportunity to invest in the future of our community. We invite everybody to walk around and take a tour, and welcome to this innovative space. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Chelsea. And now, the moment that we've all been waiting for. I'd like to welcome our distinguished panelists to the stage. Please join me in giving a warm welcome and a round of applause as we begin tonight's Fireside Chat on Maryland's economic growth, small business, and workforce opportunity. As they take their seats, I'll be sharing a brief introduction about each of our panelists. So first, I'd like to introduce the Honorable Angela D. Alsobrooks, United States Senator for Maryland. Senator Angela D. Alsobrooks represents Maryland in the United States Senate, where she champions policies that promote equitable economic growth, strengthen small businesses, and expand access to workforce opportunities. She is a lifelong public servant and a former Prince George's County executive. Senator Alsobrooks brings a proven record of leadership in advancing education, public safety, and inclusive economic development across our region. The next panelist I would like to introduce is the Honorable Nick Charles, Maryland State Senator for District 25. And Senator Nick Charles represents Maryland's 25th Legislative District, serving on key committees focused on business development, infrastructure investment, and community advancement. He is a strong advocate for small business access, workforce expansion, and equitable contracting practices throughout Prince George's County. Senator Charles's legislative leadership continues to drive policies that create meaningful economic opportunities for Maryland residents and its entrepreneurs. And our final panelist is the Honorable Maria Martinez, Special Secretary for Small, Minority, and Women Business Affairs for the state of Maryland. As Special Secretary for the Governor's Office of Small, Minority, and Women Business Affairs, Secretary Marina Martinez leads statewide initiatives that strengthen the participation of small and diverse firms in Maryland's procurement and contracting ecosystem. Her work centers on increasing access to capital, enhancing business readiness, and ensuring that the state's economic growth reflects the diversity of its communities. So welcome to our panelists. And the last person I would like to introduce is our moderator. He is also one of our board members for the Prince George's Chamber of Commerce, Rick Munford from MCN Build, which is one of the largest construction companies in the Mid-Atlantic region. So welcome, Rick.
All right, thank you, Portia, for the wonderful introductions. It's an honor to be before this group and ask a few questions of this dynamic panel. So we'll dive right in. First question or section topic, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, opening the door for inclusive growth. First question, I guess this will be to you, Madam Senator. Could you start by giving us a quick overview of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act and how it will impact Maryland's small, minority, and women-owned businesses?
Well, first of all, is this working? I think it is. Test, 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 test. All right, thank you so much. Well, first of all, I want to thank the Business Chamber for hosting today. I want to thank your president, Alex Austin, for having me today, and want to thank all of you all for coming out tonight, and to say what an honor it is to sit here with friends and colleagues is always good. We are so lucky, I have to first say, because we live in Maryland, and while the rest of the country, a big part of it is doing something different, we are really, really just so blessed to be in a place like Maryland. The Big Beautiful Bill, which my colleagues and I have decided instead to call the Big Ugly Bill, is one that I first of all have to tell you that I did not vote in favor of, and I have to tell you why. The bill that they call the Big Beautiful Bill is one that, contrary to what the administration promised, actually caused the deficit, the country's deficit, to grow. It actually grows the deficit by over $3 trillion. And we were told, of course, that the reason for this bill was that it was going to, and that this administration's aim was to cut the deficit and to cut spending. And what this bill instead does is to really escalate and to grow our deficit by over $3 trillion. And to do so, and this is a theme that I have found in this administration, is that the reason for all of it is to really repurpose government and to create the opportunity for billionaires to grow their largesse. That's literally what it is about. And so what we see in the Big Beautiful Bill is a significant cut, for example, to supplemental nutrition programs, the very programs that help so many children, that help seniors and younger people. And we are seeing very significant cuts to SNAP benefits. You should also note that there are very, very significant cuts to Medicaid included in the Big Beautiful Bill. And for those who don't know, about 50% of all Medicaid recipients are children. And when we think about the children who benefit from Medicaid, we're thinking largely of children who have disabilities. There are others, some of our seniors and others who benefit from Medicaid, and we're going to see very, very significant cuts to Medicaid. And so those are some of the reasons that I voted against the big, beautiful bill. But I should also, just in the interest of completion, share with you some of the provisions of the big, beautiful bill. They may actually be helpful to business. I would be remiss if I didn't share that the child tax credit is increased in the big, beautiful bill by about $200 for families. You should also know that there are other provisions. One I worked on along with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina. And before you wonder why in the world I am working with the other side, I should tell you that it has been my greatest goal, first of all, to try to grow economic opportunity. That is what our families need. It is what they require. And they also expect, even in a climate where I don't agree with a lot of what is happening, I'm still clear that I have to deliver for Marylanders. So I have been there searching for people to get things done with. And that meant that I have made some friendships across the aisle. One of them is that I've worked with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina. And together I introduced as the Democratic lead, a bill, and this bill, I have to tell you, is called the Small Business Tax Fairness and Compliance Simplification Act. And this is legislation that really allows the beauty industry, hairstylists, nail technicians, and barbers to benefit from a tax credit that they had not been able to benefit from for many, many years. It's Section 45B, and this federal tax credit provides a safe harbor for those businesses, not only to establish and to get a tax benefit, but they also help tip workers to not be disadvantaged because they receive the tips. And so that is a bill that I passed along with Senator Scott, and it was passed and it was signed into law. And so I've been proud to be able to get that done. You should also know that it also expands, there's a tax credit for research and development spending, and that's also important to many of our Maryland businesses. And you should know as well that it also strengthens the low-income housing tax credit, which is also going to be really important as we tackle the issue of affordable housing, which is not only a crisis here, but it's a crisis all across our state. I often tell the story that, my parents married at 21 and 22. My mother is the cougar in the relationship. She married herself a younger man. But you know what? Within 5 years of their marriage, they could buy a home. And so it used to be the case that the average age of a first-time home buyer was in their 20s. Did you know that the age now of the average first-time home buyer is closer to 40 years old? So the dream of home ownership is moving further and further away. So those low-income tax credits help those who are developing low-income housing and housing stocks in general. And so that is also included in that big, beautiful bill. So, I agree. Again, most parts of it, the cuts that really do harm families are reasons I oppose it, but just wanted you to know that there are other provisions in there that actually, some of them are helpful for businesses, and wanted to share those with you as well.
Thank you, Senator. One other portion to this, what real-world impact do you hope this bill will have for local entrepreneurs here in Prince George's County?
Well, again, as I've mentioned, it has been my goal now as a senator, and it was my goal also as county executive to do everything I could to increase economic opportunity. And how that happens really is access to business and access to capital for our businesses. And it is my great desire, first of all, as I mentioned, some of the tax benefits that come through bills like the one that I passed with Senator Tim Scott will be of assistance to our businesses. But that's not the only one. I've also worked along with Senator Tim McCormick of Ohio, and we have a bill together as well that will address business development corporations who invest in small and mid-sized businesses. There was a loophole that we needed to close, and so I'm also leading that bill as well. So there are other ways, just making sure that our businesses have not only the opportunity to compete, and I know that we'll be talking a bit more about some of what's happened through the Department of Transportation that actually harms some of our businesses, but making sure that we do everything we can. I'm working also on a piece of legislation that will define micro businesses. And the reason that that definition is really important is that we find a lot of the businesses in our communities, first of all, 99% of all of our businesses are small businesses. So our economy depends on the success of small businesses. But we have found that this administration has, as I'm not telling you anything you don't know, has targeted certain communities and certain types of business owners. And so having a micro business designation and a definition will help us to encompass some of the women-owned businesses, some of our minority businesses, and other disadvantaged businesses that this administration has very strategically decided to cut out of opportunities. I think the great irony of the big ugly bill is that based on the title that you gave, it says something about inclusion, and there's anything but that. The goal of that bill is not to include, is to exclude. But we are trying to find really creative ways to ensure that we still deliver capital to business owners who qualify for some of the other disadvantaged business dollars, and make sure that they're able to capitalize their businesses.
Thank you, Senator, and appreciate the good fight that you're fighting
Thank you.
in the halls in Washington. Next topic, and a good caveat, the new U.S. DOT ruling, what it means for DBE and SBE firms. You kind of touched on this.
Yeah.
First question is, there's been a lot of buzz about the new United States Department of Transportation ruling. Can you break down what's changing and what that means for firms seeking DBE and SBE certifications?
Okay, so I'm going to give you some of the specifics of it, but let me just tell you how sorry I am that I voted for this. I voted against most of Donald Trump's nominees for good reason. You know, he told a big fat fallacy when he targeted federal employees, fired them, terminated people with experience because he said these people were not qualified for their jobs. And I have to tell you, I sat in the hearing rooms. I've been in there all year in the confirmation hearing rooms, and I know what unqualified looks like because I have seen them up close and personal. In fact, it has been a little bit like a Saturday Night Live skit sometimes in these hearing rooms. I honestly cannot believe what I've seen. You know, I saw one guy who was there nominated to lead the legal department in one of the agencies. This is a department that has over 300 lawyers in it. And bless his heart, they brought this guy into the hearing room and said, "Sir, how long have you practiced law?" Well, I think grand total he practiced for 3 years. And they said, "During that time, have you ever taken a case to decision?" He said, "No, I have not." And they said, "Well, where did you work?" He said he worked at some law firm for 18 months and said, "Who did you supervise?" He said, "Some interns during the time that he was there." And then they said also, "Do you know what summary judgment is?" And he said, not so sure about that. And then they said, "And after the 18 months, you were terminated, sir." He said, "That's correct." And guess what? He's the new head of the legal department for one of the major agencies. And so this is who we have now in these agencies. But I decided very strategically that I would support a really small number of his nominees who I thought we would need to work with in order to bring opportunity to Maryland. And I thought, you know, transportation should be not controversial, correct? Well, as it turns out, that none of these people can be trusted to support. And so now we have Secretary Duffy at the Department of Transportation, and this is some of the rulings. So the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program, they call it DBE. And there's also a related program, the Airport Concession Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program. And I'm sorry that I'm reading some of these. There's so many. I want to make sure I describe it accurately. It's under the U.S. Department of Transportation. And what it does, what they have done is to use a ruling, a process to eliminate the preferences that were given to certain disadvantaged groups. And so that includes, for example, to eliminate race and sex-based presumption of disadvantage, and any existing other that saying that all of these businesses have to now be reevaluated under this rule. So this means that if you, for example, had won even a contractor designation, they can now take it back, look at it again under this particular designation. And now going forward as of October 3rd, this has now taken effect that all of the businesses that enjoy that designation now no longer can enjoy it. And so that is one of the changes that they have made. They also say that the state and local transportation agencies have to now adjust project timelines, rebalance contract goals, and issue temporary, or the waivers that they were issuing, they have now set those aside as well. So really eliminated many opportunities that were enjoyed by small women-owned businesses and also minority businesses. So this is really going to create a lot of challenges. Also, we had a lot of veterans who also were in these categories, and so we've seen our veterans who have been severely disadvantaged from many of these policies, including one like this one. So that's what has happened through the Department of Transportation. But I should also tell you really quickly, I don't know if you had a sub-question. Maybe I should let you ask your sub-question. I'm sorry, I was going to just
That's
keep
fine.
going.
That's fine. You were rolling. And I think you kind of touched on this one. How might these updates affect upcoming transportation and infrastructure projects in Maryland? And I
Well,
think
so they will, but I just want to also quickly say, because I don't want to just give you bad news. I want to tell you that we're also fighting to make sure good things happen. And so, for example, when I came into office in January, we saw the administration immediately freeze about $300 million in pre-authorized transportation and infrastructure dollars that had already been authorized for the state of Maryland. And I worked alongside my colleagues, not only our senior senator, Chris Van Hollen, but the rest of our delegation to slowly unfreeze those dollars that had already been authorized to come throughout Maryland. So we've been able to do that together. You should also know that I am on the Environment and Public Works Committee. And in fact, I'm the ranking member on the subcommittee on transportation and infrastructure. And the reason I requested that was to make sure that we were able to get dollars through to our state. And so there are a couple of other bills I want to mention. One is one that I'm working on with Senator Kramer of North Dakota, and this is a Highway Funding Transferability Improvement Act. And this one is a really important bill. And what it does is for local transportation dollars, it allows states to have some flexibility to decide the best way to use those dollars in your state. So, for example, if you have a natural disaster and a flooding, for example, and you need to reallocate some of your safety dollars to address a flooding issue, then the bill that we have put in says that the states can now adjust the use of those dollars to address whatever the specific need is that that state has. And I think that's going to be really helpful for us in Maryland. I have also co-sponsored the All Aboard Act of 2025. And this also, this makes great investments in rail, our nation's rail system. I don't know how many people tried to travel this last summer, but I did, and I noticed the significant delays. If anyone has had the opportunity to catch Amtrak to New York, it used to be a time where there were very few delays, but now because our rails and such are aging, I encountered more significant delays than I ever had before. And so this Rail Act will also increase investments in in the rail corridors and also kickstart more like high performance rail projects throughout our country. So I'm working on that. And as well as another bill I co-sponsored, the Sarah Debnick Langenkamp Active Transportation Safety Act to protect cyclists. So a lot that we have been able to still do even in a time like this to make sure that we are still delivering dollars and delivering projects that really do help our communities.
Thank you, Senator. I'll shift to the next topic. I think this might be for you, Senator Charles, but access to contracts, capital, and federal funding. Specifically, how is the state working to make these programs more transparent and easier to navigate for small business owners?
Appreciate that. Yeah, so since I've been in office, we've been able to, one, focus in on mandating that all of the state agencies must put out their opportunities, their forecasts. So if you're in business and you don't even know what agency is actually pushing out any type of work, as a small business, you have no true wherewithal how you're supposed to grow your business further down the road. So the forecast is extremely important. And so at the federal level, every agency puts out a forecast so that you know how to grow your business, what you could go after. So at the state, we have so many agencies, we have so many counties, we have so many municipalities. colleges, universities. We mandated that everybody must put all of their opportunities also on eMaryland Marketplace Advantage. Because as a small business, if you're out looking for opportunities and you have to go to 72 different websites just to find an opportunity, it's hard as a small business owner to do that. How many small business owners do we have in here? And so when you guys are going through your business development process, you want to make it as simplified as possible. So that's one of the things that we were able to get done and also mandate. And so that's where the transparency comes in, forcing that to happen. But that's just not it. It's so many other pieces to the puzzle. I know we were not seeing a lot of our minority businesses win opportunities. And I had a very frank conversation with the governor. And this is why it's important that we focus on the type of people that we elect in the office, right? And it starts at the executive levels, because we're in the legislature, right? And so we're here at the legislature, but the actual execution of the work happens at the executive side of things. And West, our governor, he came in and he hit the ground running. He replaced the chief procurement officer. He brought in the right type of folks, and we saw a 30% increase in the amount of minority businesses winning contracts. That's the type of leadership that it takes. We have to put the right people in the right rooms at the right time so we can see transformation happen within our communities. One of the things also, I just want to touch on this as well, is we are at a crossroads right now in the country, but right here in Prince George's County in Maryland as well. And I've been saying it to Alex, I've been saying it to our new county executive, Aisha Braveboy, I've been saying it to the governor. This is our time that we truly have to be selfish as a state and as a county. We have to truly be selfish at this point. The way the federal government is cutting resources to our community, and then you look at us outsourcing a lot of our opportunities to Pennsylvania, outsourcing a lot of our opportunities to Virginia, outsourcing a lot of our opportunities to other states. We're talking about $10 billion across the board, just in Prince George's County alone. When you take all of our colleges and universities, when you take all of our hospitals, you take all of our county agencies, municipalities, all our utilities, all of the folks that we have regulatory authority over, when you look at all of these folks across the board, it's about $10 billion being spent. And then you go and look at somebody like Pepco, when they're looking to find somebody to cut down trees, they go to a company named as Plunder out of Pennsylvania to come into Maryland, and we're losing out on those opportunities. Even with our checks, when you write your check to for the county, you write your check and mail it to Pennsylvania, to a Pennsylvania check processing plant, versus having it being done in-house. So these are a lot of things where we really have to be selfish. We have to realign, refocus on bringing our resources back right here to Prince George's County, focusing in on our businesses. And one of the things to make that happen, I'm putting a bill in, Buy Maryland, Buy Local, this year, which is going to create a uniform evaluation criteria across the board, and it's going to change the weighting methods as well. So from our technical merit being number one, but making economic impact a true indicator. So when we start looking at what happens, most folks think, when you talk to a lot of our procurement and contracting officers, a lot of those folks look at the opportunity and say, best price, technically acceptable, right? So they'll look at, this is the cheapest route for us. But when you take a look at that true opportunity, that may not necessarily be best for Prince George's County or for the state of Maryland. So we really have to get our contracting officers to understand, if you give this to an out-of-state or an out-of-jurisdiction company, what is the tax benefit that we lose? We have to start diving deeper into the discussion. How much money are we losing allowing our money to go into other people's jurisdictions? How many jobs are we losing? What's the income tax benefit that we're losing? What is the commercial property taxes that we're losing by allowing all of these dollars to go? And we got all of these other companies, and the former county exec knows, she sat at that table for a long time, and so she saw this, how she had to literally struggle and leverage everything off the backs of our homeowners because we had such a weaker commercial tax base in comparison to folks like Montgomery County. And so a lot of our work came off the backs of the homeowners. So we don't have companies that want to come into our communities, right? We would call a spade a spade. There are companies that do not want to be in Prince George's County. Okay, that's fine. You don't have to come to us. So how do we grow companies that are already here? How do we leverage our EDC? How do we leverage our chamber to actually go after true opportunities and grow our businesses? When we're talking $10 billion across the board, that's a huge economy how much percentage of that is being shifted out of Prince George's County? And when you look at the bigger picture, how much is being shifted out of state? So we got a lot of work to do, and it's a partnership. It's no way to beat up everybody on it. We have to constantly come together as a community with the business partners being here to express how you feel, but also for us I tell Alex all the time, you got to stand up and scream and say what you guys are missing. We really need that from the chamber.
So again, great lead into the next topic, workforce development and job creation. With major infrastructure investments on the horizon, how is the state preparing residents to participate in these projects?
So the state is preparing folks. We have different programs. We have Employee Prince George's right here in Prince George's County. We have other organizations that state dollars go into that, but we do record investment also into our community colleges as well. A lot of folks miss the opportunity because there's so many things that you can get out of a community college. In Prince George's County, we just so happen to have the best community college in the state of Maryland. I would say in the country. And so really leveraging that opportunity by going to the community college and getting some of those resources that they have available, and also partnering with folks like the chamber that create internship opportunities. That's something that we need to talk about, more opportunities for folks. So I know we in my office, we create internship opportunities for folks to dive into the policy world, but we got so many businesses. We can help a lot of our young folks start coming in just to get a head start. I got my start at 15 years old. I was working at the Pentagon. Started off as a summer hire, and we've been so blessed and lucky to have opportunities like that, and that has transcended into me being a defense acquisition consultant, helping build major weapon systems for the Department of Navy, doing all types of work from ship-to-shore connector to the new CVN 79, which is an aircraft carrier, doing their dual-band radar, leading the efforts on those things. And that started with me being 15 years old, and I've been able to take that and bring it all the way up to where I am today, now helping Naval Sea Systems Command when they are now inactivating a lot of the ships that we no longer need. And so when kids have the opportunity to start learning at an early age, getting into these positions super early, that gives them the opportunity to grow and to constantly figure out what's the next move for them. So I think those partnerships with a lot of our business community, creating those internships, is going to be critical.
Secretary Martinez. Collaboration and community engagement. What's your call to action for small business owners looking to plug into Maryland's evolving small business ecosystem?
I did it. I think, well, I'm a product of a chamber as well, and I understand the impact of chambers, and I understand it's so important to have leaders such as Alex who are always at the table and creating opportunities for us to be at the table. I was a proud MB, DBE. You have all the initials after that for everything you can imagine. And I understand that's why being in this role has been so important to me as part of someone. As you know, I always say I'm going to be 62 next month, so I've been around a bit. So when you see the full circle of the opportunities, the fact that, to your point about how do we get in this ecosystem, I'm a product of a women's business center. I'm a product of the support of people who lifted me and gave me opportunity. Many years ago, I survived domestic violence, homelessness, never imagined I could have a business. And because of people who gave me opportunities. That's why I fight so hard for our programs, because without our programs, there is no opportunity. We're not there yet. We are not there yet. And we have to continue to push, and it's even worse now. So I take it really personally what's happening at this moment. So I guess I'm the one to have best poised in this position at the moment, because, you know, I've been around. So my time here is about also the legacy that I'm leaving, because I've opened doors for others who have opened doors for me. It's my opportunity and my obligation to continue to do that. And people in this room, such as the senator, both senators, have been impactful, just critically impactful, because they're honest and their integrity, and they fight every single day to ensuring that we have opportunity. So with that, I say, for us as small businesses, is understanding that we have resources in the state. The governor said to me when I first took this role, he said, if I'd only known what opportunities the state really had, if I only knew as a small business owner, he says, wow, it would have been a game changer. So it's making sure those silos are broken down, making sure that people, as you mentioned, Wallace Sermons is a dear colleague of mine who's the new chief procurement officer. He cares and he knows and he fights, and he's also ex-military. That helps a lot because he's so disciplined and so direct, and he's about collaboration. So with the Procurement Reform Act, which is critical, and we thank you very much for your support, and also the Legislative Black Caucus that was just right behind that, ensuring that it would happen. Those are the pieces that we need. As small businesses, advocate for yourself. Go talk not only to your chambers, but talk to your legislators who are there for you, who are sitting at these opportunities. The senator who's fighting every single day, she listens. She has incredible tentacles everywhere. There's a wonderful support system of individuals who understand the community and are there to bring the messages back so that she can help prioritize what you need to do. So in a whole nutshell, I'm saying is we have a lot of opportunity and resources around us. We can't be afraid to ask. I'm always the first one that was always there to want to help someone, but I never knew how to ask for myself. We have to ask for ourselves. We have to say, I don't know, but I want to learn. Please show me. Or can you please help me? So I guess I'm in a holistic way explaining that the partnerships with state, with our federal government, there's still great people there, thank goodness. There are grown-ups in the room that are really, truly, the federal workers that have been impacted, that are there to support and to continue. So we have to do our part, and they will do their part.
So that would include our Q&A session with the panelists. First of all, thank you on behalf of the chapter for Alex sharing the sentiment for sacrificing the time to come here and talk about the wonderful things that you're doing. And I appreciate the opportunity to ask you a question.
Well, before we conclude, I definitely want to say thank you again to the Chamber for having us all tonight. Thank you to our moderator, who did a really wonderful job, and what an honor it's been to be here with Senator Charles and Secretary Martinez. It's been really great to be here. I would, before I leave tonight, I wanted to say how impressed I am to see so many business owners who are out tonight. This just warms our hearts to see all of you. And, we are in challenging times, but I think it's so critical for us to be reminded that we are in a season. And I think if we don't see it that way, then we'll be constrained by what we see in this moment. Now, there are many, many things that are happening right now that we don't like. And you know what? We hear another thing every day. But I am ever reminded that the people who are in office now who are making these decisions, first of all, every day I wake up and I feel good to remember that they have 4 years and I have 6. Yes, which absolutely means that when they leave and they finish breaking stuff, then we're going to have to put back together everything they have broken, and they've tried to erase, exclude, and do everything else. And you know what? And when you see the sheer anger rising, it's because they recognize that it is not forever, and that the things that they hope to erase, they just simply cannot. None of us in this room can be erased. Our talent can't be erased. And you know what? And in a long-term kind of way, neither can our opportunities. So I just want to encourage all of the business owners who are here to take advantage of all the opportunities you heard of today. And there are many of them. And like I said, even in the big ugly bill, there are provisions that are helpful to businesses. You now get to write off, for example, up to $50,000 of your new business startup cost. It used to be the cap was $5,000. You can now write off up to $50,000. We have new areas that I encourage all of you, by the way, all the business owners in this room, to really become proficient and understand what artificial intelligence is going to be about and how it can help your businesses. To recognize that the first piece of legislation that I co-sponsored was called the Genius Act. That is one that set up the regulatory framework for digital assets, which will also be really important to all of you and to your businesses. So stay encouraged is really what I wanted. I didn't want this to end without me saying that to you, because I had to give you some bad news about the big ugly bill. And we know, again, all of the targeted attacks that are being planned on all of us right now, and our businesses are being harmed. But again, you know what? Don't be constrained by what you see. Just like they planned for many, many years what they would do when they came to office. The truth is we have to get ready too, because this season will change. And when we come back to power, which we will next year, when we take back over that house, we got to be ready to execute and be ready to take advantage of the climate that will be there. So again, thank you so much. Did you want me just to also hand?
How can I follow that right there? Listen, this has been my friend for a long time, and I'm just so honored to be up here with her, and I was so honored to cast my vote for her to be our United States Senator. We did. While she was county exec, I had the opportunity to serve alongside her as chair for the Prince George's County House delegation. And when I tell you, this woman is a true fighter. We brought home, about $500 million for the Blue Line Corridor, and $400 million for the Blue Line Corridor. And so the record investments that we've had, over $1 billion+ brought home to Prince George's County. And so just know that you got fighters here. You got people that's stepping up to the plate, folks that are swinging at the ball, and we're knocking it out, getting home runs every time. So, and it takes that type of leadership. And I thank you, Angela, for constantly being a beacon of hope and what we can accomplish, whether it was you as a state's attorney to a county executive and now as our United States Senator. And to the special secretary too, I just want to thank her because she came in and hit the ground running as well. She's a part of this story of us increasing our minority business participation. Her being the advocate that she is for our business community, we need these type of people in the room, because if we're not in the room and at the table, we are the food. And so we have to make sure we show up and show out when we have the opportunity. And so keep electing good folks, keep making sure, and you hold us all accountable too, right? We're not always going to agree on everything, but you need to express your opinion. Know who your legislators are. If you do not know who your legislators, your delegates, your senators, your county council people, your school board member, if you don't know who any of these folks are, you're already behind the 8 ball, because you don't even know who to call when a problem comes up. So I need everybody, if you don't know who your people are, reach out, figure that out. Google is your best friend. All you got to do is type your address in and say, who are my elected officials? And it will tell you who all your elected officials are. And I would ask everyone to then reach out to your elected official and say, hey, I just want to introduce myself, let you know I'm your constituent and I'm a business owner within your district. This is what we do. Are there opportunities that you can help me with? Can you point me in a direction? Can you connect me with the chamber if I don't have access to the chamber? Can you connect me with the contracts office in Maryland? Can you connect me with the contracts office in Prince George's County? Can you connect me with PGCPS contracts office? Because there's opportunities coming down the pipeline all the time. And if you are not putting in multiple proposals as a business owner, going after opportunities, you're also behind the 8 ball. I think what happens a lot of times with a lot of companies is they put 1 or 2 proposals in and you lose, and then you get beat up about it and you're scared, I can't win. No, you got to put 10 a day. You gotta constantly put these opportunities, and every day you should be submitting a proposal somewhere. You should be honing in on your craft, getting better at your pricing, getting better at the cost analysis, getting better at making sure you have your best elevator pitch about what your business does, being better about telling the story about your core competencies. You have to be able to be proficient and great at what you're doing, because you're selling a service. And if you don't sell it right, you're selling yourself short. So thank you guys so much.
I was gonna say, I feel like I'm in church today. I love it. But you know, the spirit needs that. Really, truly, the spirit needs to hear all these things. It's so important. And you know, you honestly are our why. I think I can say that on behalf of these incredible people here who's standing today and working very hard, that you are a reason that we do what we do. And it's an honor and a privilege to be in that role. So I just wanted to briefly say, please feel free to reach out to our office. Our office now is under the Department of Social and Economic Mobility. It's a new office. We have a new secretary. Many of you may already know him, Walter Simmons. He was with Employee PG County. Prince George's, I know, oh my gosh, I was warned about that, because my name is Yolanda Maria Martinez, and then people don't say it the way it should be, so that's why I go by Maria. And apologies, please. And he's really already hit the ground running week 3. And he's just been an incredible partner, and I've been very blessed to be able to work with him and learn from him. And he says he's learning a few things from me too. So I think it's a very reciprocal relationship. But with that, right now, the Office of Minority Business Enterprise, which was the MBE program under MDOT, is now under DOSM. And now it's in our purview, which I am very happy to say that I really appreciate the insight and the wisdom that Speaker Adrian Jones had in ensuring that HB 1253 came to light, and that those offices, also with the Office of Social Equity, came together. It makes sense. Our office used to do the compliance for the SBR program, Small Business Reserve, and the Veteran Small Business Reserve, and the certification, and we do the compliance for the Minority Business Enterprise, but not the certification. So it was really hard. We couldn't help everyone in trying to go through those processes. So I'm very happy to say they're incredible people who are at OMBE. They care, they're passionate, and they want to help in any way. So with this new interim final rule and the daunting task ahead of us, please know that Maryland is already ready. And we are going to ensure that we keep things moving, and that those who have been impacted as a DBE, we are there with you. We're running parallel things at the same time, so I want you to rest assured that we have a plan. We're working with our AGs at the moment, and and MDOT, and all these incredible people who just care. The passion and the commitment we've seen. It's like, I'm from Ellicott City. I live there, and it's like, people sometimes, in Main Street, they're this, blah, 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 blah. But a flood brings us together. And we all love each other. Gosh forbid you say anything about anyone else, right, on the street, because we come together. And this is kind of what has happened, that we're all together. We have to come together because it's monumental, the task we have ahead, but we're going to do it, and we're going to succeed. BPW just granted us 20 contractors. So for those small businesses, there's a procurement coming out very soon to supply 20 contractors to help with the recertification process for the IFR. So remember those pieces. And then the last thing I wanted to say, and I'll make sure it goes through Alex and his team, over at Dr. Konana, at the Dean of Professor of Information Systems at the Robert H. School of Business, to the point that the senator made about AI, and what you've said about AI, it's really important. They have a free one-day workshop right now that's good until like the middle of December. So please, I'll make sure you get that, Alex. You sign up now, and it's a free certificate. The lieutenant governor did it, and she said, "Oh my heavens, I didn't realize." We think AI is ChatGPT. Oh my goodness, it's so much more. So for small businesses, especially for you, and that's one of the things we said, how the state has resources that we didn't know about. So with that, just thank you again for this opportunity. We're here to serve it any way we can, so please never hesitate to reach out.
Thank you, thank you. I wanted to just touch on something that Senator Charles said when he said that he wanted to make sure that people shop Maryland and shop local. On Tuesday, we actually had a similar saying that I've been hearing at different chamber events, and it's to shop chamber and to shop local. So just keeping things within our community, keeping things within our business ecosystem. So thank you for saying that. And I also wanted to just add that tonight's discussion really has reinforced how important it is to collaborate all things between government, small businesses, and our community partners. And on behalf of the Prince George's Chamber of Commerce, I want to thank everyone for attending here, our fireside chat. I'd also like to thank our chamber members, our sponsors, and everyone here tonight joining us for this important conversation. So as we close out this program, I know we had a little time to network before we got started, but please make it your business to try to exchange some contact information and to build your own relationships with fellow business owners here in this room. And I know I forgot to introduce myself, but I am Dr. Portia Grant. I do business development for the Prince George's Chamber of Commerce, and it has been a pleasure having you all here. So have a nice evening.